What is up, responsible day traders? Happy holidays. Today is Sunday, December 18th, 2022. I am Lindsay Duff, and this is Responsible Day Trading. So last week was a bit of a doozy. It did give a really good run to the upside and then came crashing back down. And we're going to talk a little bit about how we could anticipate that happening and what we were expecting throughout that time and what we're expecting to happen now. Want to let you know that we do have a special coming out for y'all for Christmas for you profit traders. So keep your peepers open for that. And you know what? We're going to be gone the next 2 weeks. So we won't have a video out the next 2 weeks because we're going to take some time, spend it with our family. But if you do send us a message, we're going to answer to you. We're going to look out for what you've got. So don't worry about that. All right, guys, let's go ahead and check out this market. Okay, we know the first thing we like to do when we're checking out the market is see what news has for us. We're going to go over here to responsibledaytrading.com and we're going to go to market news. Now, here we can see nothing Monday, Tuesday, a little pre-market. Wednesday, we've got half an hour after the market opens and an hour after the market opens. We've got some high impact news, so you just want to be aware of that. Thursday's pre-market, Friday's mostly pre-market, and a little bit after market opens. So, as I always say, these are just things that we really want to pay attention to. FOMC is our biggest thing, but these are also something we just want to keep our eyes on. So let's go ahead and check out what the market has for us. Let me go ahead and start off with that daily chart because we've got a lot to unpack here. So I kept this line up here, and what we're seeing is we just kept pulling up to that area. It did look like we were going to close back above here, but what really happened is the close still came back below this line. Whew, that's telling me that we are still in tune with the move to the downside. What we're going to have to see happen really, guys, is we're going to have to come back above here. We're going to have to pull back into it and then push through to the upside. Now, is that a possibility? Sure, absolutely. We're sitting in the general area of the zero line here on the daily chart. But right now it is showing us a lot of strength in that MACD to the downside, which tells me I'm a little doubtful that it's going to pull back up. Now, what we may see is something like what we're seeing right in here, or what we saw right in here, the push through the area, the pull back in. I mean, we did already have a pullback happen right in here, right? But that's still showing us strength and momentum to the downside. It's still in tune with this push down. So we still see a lot of strength and momentum. We see these EMAs still opening up to the downside. So this BB is going to have to really pull in and push up if we're going to expect it to really continue up. But what we're seeing right now is the strength to the downside. So we don't want to ignore that, even though we've seen it try and pull back up a little bit on our smaller tick charts. And we'll get more into that in just a little bit. But we do see this nice strong move to the downside. We're back below the EMAs. We're not technically, we are working back below the zero line here to really get that direction back down, because the direction did, in my opinion, shift to the upside right here. Did it stay? No, it shifted right back down. And why did it shift to the upside here, guys? Because of what we keep talking about every week. We pulled away from the EMAs here. We pulled away and we closed higher, and we were above the zero line, which is a sign of shifting that back to the upside. But it didn't last long. We couldn't get back above here, and the EMAs are still open to the downside. The MACDs are still pushing down. So even though my heart likes to say that we're going to move this to the upside, at this point, I want to see if we're going to get back down below these areas right in here, this area first, and then back below here. If we do, I'll be anticipating to continue more to the downside. But for right now, what we're seeing is strength in the MACDs down, back below the EMAs, this area of resistance holding. So technically, we are still looking for longer term short trades. So let's go ahead and pull up that 28,657. Okay, Now, the 28,657 has a little bit of an interesting look here, and we'll talk about that. We got back below these EMAs, strong move to the downside. And you can see, I mean, this move to the upside gave a lot of hope. We got way back above these previous areas, but that close didn't happen up there. We can see the close of that particular bar right here is at the high that happened previously. Okay. And so that's a pretty good sign that it's struggling to continue up. It really tried here, but just couldn't make it. It was a strong pushback down, held out, and then another strong pushback down. We're seeing a lot of this happening right here, just a lot of very up and down. And you can see just even looking through the bars here that it's not giving really strong reversal bar signals. So we're going to have to really pay attention to what the MACDs are telling us whenever we see reversal bars. Now, what we're seeing happening currently, we had this push down. The MACDs have really struggled to push through that bottom Bollinger Band. So that was a sign that it was going to push back up. Well, it did, and it went right back into an area that was anticipated. So the EMAs strong, open to the downside, and this area of resistance. It pulled right back into that, and it bounced off. Now, when it pulled back down here, we can see the MACD did almost nothing. So we had a pretty decent move down here. MACD just barely even budged. That's what we call retracement divergence, when those price bars come down a lot more than the MACDs, which told us, hey, anticipate this to at least pull back into the area. And what is the area? Well, right here where we saw that area of resistance before. So, so far we only have one bar forming on our 28,657. Of course, it's slow moving right now. It's going to take a little bit more time, but to be honest, I would expect it to do something very similar to what we see here with the EMAs down. Now, if this MACD BB right here, this little blue one, starts picking up the strength and we start pushing to the upside, then we may actually see it move up a little bit higher. It's doubtful, but it's a thought process that we want to be prepared for. We prepare ourselves for both sides of the market. We prepare ourselves for what happens if this pushes up, what happens if this pushes down, especially in the way that we trade here at Responsible Day Trading, where we're looking to make, 2, 5, 10 points off of a trade, not something like 50, 100. We're not looking to take this move all the way back up here. I mean, could we? Sure, if we wanted to, if the conditions were right for it. But right now, what we're seeing is, just paying attention and just being quick in and out of the market, especially with the way these bars are moving and not giving us a whole lot of oomph behind each bar. So looking here at my 3 trading charts, I have the 10,946, the 1597, and the 233. So I like to start reading left to right. I always start with my biggest chart. What happened here? We pulled right back into the EMA on the 10,946. It pushed back down into this area, and we got an itty bitty reversal bar. This little tiny reversal bar, it made a little bit of a floor here, and this MACD is really trying to push hard to the upside. Now, I see that happening. I see this price bar pushing up. We know that opening of the day usually is something of a very strong move and a strong bar. So it's not really indicative of what we're going to see for the rest of the day. So that's something that I always like to mention, that we like to keep in mind. So this bar did pull up pretty hard, and I think I did say this BB was pulling up hard. And the only reason I say it's pulling up hard, it's not really pulling away from this BB, but it's got a nice sharp angle to the upside, which is, in tune with the way that the price bar moved. Now, if we look over to the 1597, we had divergence happening between these bottom pivots. We had weak EMAs, all signs that it was going to push back up. Once it crossed this top Bollinger Band and started pushing back up, very clear that we're going to see this move to the upside. Probably happened very quickly. But we can see this little reversal bar, the BBs are getting lighter, and now it's trying to pull back in. So we have to say to ourselves, well, what's going to happen here? Are we going to use this area of the EMAs as a push for more up, as this W pivot maybe continues and pushes through and equals up to this next area, which would be in tune with what we looked at the 28,657? It doesn't have to though. We could see it just coming up to that resistance area that's happening right in here where these price bars were just kind of stopping right in here. Is it a little bit above? It definitely is. So are we going to see it pull back and pop back up? You know, with this just opening up for the day, I seriously doubt it. So right now what we saw is the distance from the price bar to the EMAs. That is what we call the potential for a snapback, because every time we pull away from these EMAs, what happens? We snap back to them. We pull away, we may not reach it to them, but we are heading back in that direction every time. Pull away, snap back, pull away, snap back. So that's a very central theme that we see with these EMAs and the price bars, and we're constantly looking for that to happen so we can look for a reason, like we were talking about earlier, to take the pullbacks like we see back here, just anticipating, hey, we know this has a good chance to pull back. We expect it to pull back towards this area. We'll look for signs if it decides to stop. Something like this reversal bar or hard close down, hard close up were pretty good signs that it was going to stop in that pullback to the area. If I'm looking at my 233 right now, once this pulled up to the top and we created this flag reversal bar, we saw a nice little divergence right up in here. And that actually happens right here. But we saw those BBs. We saw the white BBs happening here as it pulled up. When it comes back and pulls back here and it can't cross that top Bollinger Band, good indications that it's going to go back down. And let me just put on my crosshairs to make sure I'm talking about the right spaces. Oh, nope, there we go. We can see it pulled up here, and that is where it didn't cross that top Bollinger Band in this high pivot that happened right here. Really, really good signs whenever we see that. That is also a divergence. That is a what we call an ultra mega super divergence, because what happens is these BBs should be crossing that top Bollinger Band with how strong these price bars pulled to the upside, but it couldn't. So it was a very good sign that this was going to push back down. So these are ways that we can take those pullbacks with those kind of things happening. When we see those divergences on the smaller tick charts, we see slowdowns and reversal bars, and we see reasons for a pullback to the area. So that's why I love pullbacks, and that's why I love trading E-mini futures, is because we can trade this whether the market is going up or down. And, you know, even though we have a strong trend in one direction or another, there is always going to be a pullback, and we can take advantage of them. All right, guys, we're going to make that short and sweet this week. That is going to wrap things up. I hope that everybody has a wonderful holiday season. I know we're all celebrating something different. So I just hope whatever it is you celebrate and whatever you do for your holidays, that you enjoy it, that you get to spend time with the people that make you happy, and that you find reasons to smile. And guys, we love having you here. We're so happy and so proud of all of you. We thank you so much for being here. And for 2023, you know that we look forward to catching you on the profitable side.